All right, it is 6:30. We'll go ahead and call this budget hearing to order. Can we do a roll call, please?
Jeske,
Here.
Christian. Here. Souter. Whittington.
Here.
Halliday.
Here.
Oster.
Here.
Bowles.
Here.
All right, thank you. Let's do the pledge of allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, everybody. All right, looking for a motion to approve the agenda for the budget hearing.
I'll make that motion. Support.
Motion by Christian, support by Whittington. All those in favor, aye, with raised right hand? Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries 6-0. That brings us to a presentation of the 2023-2024 budget amendment. All right, Leanna, thank you.
Yes. Okay, so tonight I'm standing here in front of you. I'm gonna give you, we're gonna go over two budgets. We're gonna start with the final amendment on our 23-24 budget. Let's start with, we'll just go over the grants and revenues that we have. Of course, in the non-grant, we have our local, state, and other. And the grants that we received, we have our ESSER 3, which is ending this year, 12/31/24. We have our IDA, and then also our title grants. Our overall revenue is projected to be up $655,294 from our last budget amendment that we did in April. As you can see, our local budget revenues are up, the state is up, federal and other. The changes that have happened since our last amendment. In the local, our tax revenues are up, the final payments have all been received. On the state side, our revenues are up due to some carryover being expended in our at-risk, our Section 97, and our 31AA. In the federal side, we have our grant funds are up due to the ESSER 3 roof project, which has been completed. We didn't think that that would actually happen so soon, so actually that has been moved from 24-25 to this year's. So on our other side, our revenues are up due to our interest on our cash accounts and also on our core reimbursement for the CTC transportation. This is our first year in getting that money for transportation. On the expenditure side, our overall expenditures are projected to be up $350,000 from our budget amendment done in April. As you can see, our instruction is up slightly, supporting services is down, administration is down, operations is up, transportation is down, other central support is up, community services is down, the other two are flat. On the expenditure changes, under the support services, we have a decrease due to some title expenditures moving to our 2024-2025 budget. Supplies and PD, that isn't going to be able to happen by June 30, so it's going to be moving to next year. Under administration, we have a decrease in some benefit costs along with some tax adjustments on property values that were less than anticipated. Under operations, we have an increase due to our roof project, which was not in the previous revision. And under transportation, we just have a decrease in wages and benefits being less than anticipated. As I do, it's normally a conservative budget, so as we come down on these amendments, we get to the actual costs. So under other central support, we have an increase due to ESSER 3 and Title II grant expenses. So overall summary for the 23-24, we have total revenues of $20,465,034. And under our expenditures, we have $19,483,64. with revenues over expenditures of $981,970. Adding that to our fund balance as of July 1, with the $4,775,038, we have a projected fund balance of $5,757,008, bringing our fund balance to 29.5%. The average fund balance right now in the state of Michigan is 22 to 24%, so we are above the average. And then this just kind of shows you where we were and where we are now. So that is the general fund overview of the amendment. Does anyone have any questions on that? I will be going over, because this is our final amendment, and so on this final amendment, we also do our other funds, which I put a packet in front of everyone. And so we've already went through the general fund budget, which was the top page. The next one is our debt service budget. And on the debt service, we had our amended budget is going to be, our revenues are going to be a total of $482,867. With expenditures of paying our principal and interest and dues on that is $521,300. That gives us a loss of $38,433, and with our beginning fund balance of $387,783, it brings us to an ending fund balance of $349,350. And as we go through the process with this debt fund, each year we are bringing down that ending fund balance, because we will want it to be a zero at the end. Okay, the next one is our food service budget. On our amended budget, we are going to have a total revenue of $1,024,416,000, with expenditures of $1,200,332. And we did have some capital outlay in there of $139,500. As we are spending down that fund balance, we have expenses over revenues in the negative of $175,916. Our beginning fund balance on that, on the food service fund, was $424,677. Brings us to an ending fund balance of $248,761. So we are still on our spending down plan in that budget. Okay, the next fund that we have is our student activity budget. On the amended budget, we have revenues of $231,620. We have expenses of $245,200, giving us a expenses over revenue of the negative $13,580. They had a prior year fund balance of $199,050, brings us to our estimated fund balance for the year at $185,470. That's the student activity account. The next one is our capital projects fund. This is our new fund this year. We had a transfer in from general fund of $500,000. So far we have earned $4,500 in interest. So that brings us to a total, our prior year fund balance was zero, and our estimated fund balance $504,500. And that is all the funds. So anybody have any questions for the 24, 20, or 23, 24?
On the, I do on the student services.
Uh-huh.
So is it generally, are they to carry a fund balance, or is it to go to zero every year, or what? Or student
Normally,
activity budget, sorry.
the student activity
Yeah,
budget,
yeah.
yes, it's normally whatever they bring in and they expense.
Okay,
It doesn't always happen that way with
Right.
their fundraisers, they don't always spend their money,
okay,
but generally that's the way, it's built to be.
okay. Is it recommended to keep a fund balance, or?
For the
Does it-
student activity
Right.
accounts, it's not necessary. I mean,
Okay.
some of the funds travel with them.
Right.
I mean, as they go from second to third to fourth, whatever, some of them do. We also have some funds, you know, for athletics or other funds, you know what I mean, that
Right.
just build and go on to the next year's team or
Okay,
whatever.
okay.
So, yeah,
Okay.
but normally it's whatever they take in, they
And they-
normally spend,
okay,
yeah.
okay.
Just as long as we don't go the other way around.
Right,
we're
right.
okay.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, we'll move on to the presentation of 2024-2025 budgets.
Okay, this one is our proposed budget. It's our first budget for the 24-25 school year. I just wanna start out with, the student enrollment. The student enrollment, we decided, and looking at the trend over the last, 3 years, because we figured 2020 was really an anomaly. So looking at that, you know, we had a loss between 21 and 22 of 23 kids. Between 22 and 23, we had 10. And then 23 to 24, we had 16. So we are budgeting for a loss of, I'm sorry, that 110 is missing there, but,
It's
of
there.
a loss of, yeah, a loss of 20 kids is what we're budgeting for. Do I think it will be better than that? Yes, but we really wanted to be conservative with our number, and so we went with a 20 FTE loss. So for our state aid, again, I just wanted to let you know what we're building this budget on these assumptions. Right now, we are looking at a 200 per pupil increase. That number in Lansing right now is higher, but we decided to go with the lowest number that's been out there, just so that we know we'll at least get that, and anything else that comes in is a bonus. So again, with the revenues, basically the revenues are all staying the same, except for we have ESSER 3 that is going away. This is just a little pie chart for you, just to kind of show you where our money comes from. Our local funds are at 60%, our state funds are at 25%, and our federal funds are at 13%, and then other makes up 2% of our funding. So on the revenue side, our revenue is projected to be down $3,627,654 from the final budget amendment that I just presented. As you can see, our local funds are actually up, the state funds are down, federal funds are down, and other funds are down. On the revenue changes, so the revenues are up on the local side because it's an increase in our taxable values. Our taxable values almost went up in the amount of like 8%. On the state side, our revenues are down due to the student loss, the removal of some categoricals, and then again on the increased tax revenue. So as our tax revenue goes up, the money that we get from the state goes down. And on the removal of the categoricals, there's some categoricals that we receive that aren't always guaranteed for the next coming year. And so those I remove just in case. So I like to budget conservatively, so I leave those out. And if we get them back, then it'll be to the plus side. So on the federal side, our revenues decreased due to the completion of our ESSER 3 grant. And on other, our revenues are down just, again, to the conservative projections. I took out revenues for donations that we received, and also interest on investments I took down, and interest on taxes that we received. Because we never know, those are unknowns. So how the money is spent. On instruction, we spend 52%. On supporting services, we spend 9%, on administration 12%, operations 14%, transportation 8%, and other central support 5%. On the expenditure side, our overall expenditures are projected to be down $2,862,490 from the final projection of the 23-24 budget. As you can see, instruction is up, supporting services is down, administration's up, operations is down, transportation up, other central support down, and community services is up. Fund modifications is down. So on the expenditure changes from the previous year, under instruction and supporting services, we had staffing reductions through attrition and ESSER 3 grant completions. And under administration, it is up and due to increase in wages and benefits, but then we also had a reduction in election expenses that we won't have on this year's budget. Under operations, the operations budget is down because of the completion of the ESSER project. So once we pull out those expenses, it brings it down compared to last year. Under transportation, we see an increase due to our bus purchase and our wages and benefits. Under central support, we see a decrease due to ESSER 2 and 3 expenses being removed. And then the fund modification, we see a decrease because we have no transfer at this time from our general fund to our capital projects. So in summary of our 24-25 budget, we are looking at total revenues of $16,837,380 with total expenditures of $16,625,074 with revenues over expenditures of $216,806. And then with our estimated fund balance at the end of July 1, we're looking at $5,757,008. Adding those together, we get a projected fund balance of $5,973,813, bringing us to a 35.9% fund balance for next year. And then this is just another graph just showing you of our continuation in the right direction. Does anybody have any questions on next year's budget? Again, this is just proposed and these are not things that we know right now, and as the year moves on, those things will change. Okay, so for the 24-25, we also have our other funds budget. So in your packet, on the fiscal year end of June 30, 2025, we just went over the general fund budget. So I would like to go over the food service as our next one. We are looking at revenues of $1,184,300 with expenditures of $1,045,371,000, giving us revenues over expenditures of $138,929. This year we are not looking at any capital outlay right now of any expenses. But if that changes, we'll have a revision. And then with the net change, that brings us with their beginning balance of $248,761, giving them an ending estimated balance of $387,691. The next one is our debt service budget. The proposed budget, which we had PFM look at our taxable values and give us a recommendation. We are still going with the 0.5 taxing. So we are going to stay at the 0.5, and our revenues will be at $510,000, and our expenditures will be at $522,950, bringing us expenses over revenues at a loss of $12,950. With our beginning estimated balance at $349,350, we will have an ending balance of $336,400 as we spend on them. The next one is our student activity budget. We had revenues, proposed revenues of $230,000 and looking at expenses of $230,000. So leaving them with a flat budget and a fund balance of $185,470. The next one is our capital projects. We are not looking at any transfers at this time into the capital projects account, but we are looking at receiving right around $12,000 in revenues for interest bearing. So that would bring us to adding that to our prior fund balance of $504,500. It gives us an estimated fund balance of $516,500. And that is our proposed 24-25 budget. Do you have any questions?
Any questions for Leanna? All right, hearing none, we'll move on. Thank you, Leanna.
Thank you very much.
Brings us to public participation for the budget hearing. Any public comments from the audience on the budget? Hearing none. We'll move on. Does anybody need a recess before we get into the work session?
Yes, please.
All right, does anybody need the last minute? We'll go ahead and call the work session meeting in order to 6:55. Looking for a motion to approve the agenda as presented.
I'll make the motion. Support.
Motion by Christian, was that support by Bowles?
Yep.
All those in favor with the raised right hand, aye? Aye. Is that 5-2? Motion carries 5-2. Looking for a motion and support to approve the consent agenda as presented.
I'll make the motion.
I'll support it.
Motion by Christian, supported by Whittington. All those in favor with the raised right hand, aye? Aye. Motion carries 5-2. Brings us to student and staff
It
recognition.
would be 5-1. No. 4-2.
Oh, 4-2,
Oh,
sorry,
more,
4-2.
yeah. I just knew the math was wrong.
Whoops.
Yeah. And was that on both of them?
Yes.
Okay.
Minutes will reflect the corrected number. Sorry about that. Right, after that, that brings us to student and staff recognition.
All right. First off, thank you again, Leanna, for all of your work. It's been a pleasure conservatively budgeting with you. It's nice. I appreciate that you take out certain categoricals or that you bring the projected interest down. So as we go through the year, the budget amendments tend to get better. That's always a lot. So just, you know, the trajectory we're on, it's just a continuation of all the good work and all the hard work. So thank you so much for, you know, all the late nights you've been putting in a lot of time. As I extend that thank you, I want to also, in addition to thanking Leanna, thank Kim and Robin in the central office. The end of the year is always very busy. You know, we're always trying to get all the budgeting done, but this year, concluding regular end-of-year state and federal reports is one thing, but we got to add to that all the ESSER stuff. So that's been a pretty heavy push to tie all that off. There's some things late on the agenda that will be part of wrapping up this ESSER, I guess, experience that everyone in the state has been a part of. So, you know, I really couldn't do it without Kim, you, Leanna, you, Robin. You're not here, but Robin. It's a great team, and I appreciate you all. So thanks for all you do. That is my recognition.
All right. Thank you, man. We got time for public comments. I don't think we have any sheet support. Does anybody like to make public comment this evening? Hearing none, we'll move on to reports. Superintendent report.
All right, short one tonight.
Just a quick summer construction update. As of today, 7 of the 18 rooms in this building that are being tiled have been completed. The flooring company is here this week waxing those 7 rooms. The wax has to cure for about a week before we can get the furniture back in. So they're definitely actually ahead of schedule, which is really nice. And you know, we were a little worried with as much furniture as we had to move that, you know, that this we knew would be a busy summer, but it's nice that they're ahead of the game. At Collins, they're also ahead. I'm happy to announce that the demo crew has really been working hard. The entire upper elementary, all the classrooms, all the hallways. You think about that sheet vinyl flooring, that green or the red, all that is out, demoed. They're on the hall going down toward the cafeteria. They will finish, the projected finish date for demoing and abating the entire building is in the next 2 to 3 weeks. So now that they have done the air monitoring in the upper elementary, the bags are off, you can walk in it. And so the installers are going to be coming right behind them. We had a meeting with the install crew today. And so big thank you to George, to Doug, thank you Doug, and our WOGAS project manager for really staying on top of the work crews and doing a nice job of scheduling. There's multiple companies at work, and keeping them all moving is no easy task. So Doug, since you're here, thank you, and I'm thanking George and Joe, excuse me, Joe as well. So both buildings actually ahead of schedule by about a week, which was really nice. Quick summer school update. Summer school is off to a great start. Students from Collins, the junior, senior high, and community ed are all participating. Community ed and junior, senior high students are working hard to recover credit for courses they did not pass the first time. Elementary students are working on strengthening foundational skills needed to help them be successful next year in their core classes. So far, as of today, I checked with Kathy Serum about 3:30 to 4. At least 27 classes, maybe 28, I'll find out tomorrow, have been recovered by our high school students. And a big thank you to all of our teachers who are running summer school for all 3 buildings. I think as I put in the weekly update, this is the first time we've had Collins kids over here for summer school because we're not able to occupy Collins right now. And so it's been kind of fun, seeing the little folks going up and down the hallway. Brings a different energy to the building, so it's good stuff. That is my update.
Any questions for Superintendent Williams on his report? Hearing none, we'll move on to action items. All right, ready for this one. Action item A is final amendment of the 2023-2024 budget. Looking for a motion and support to approve the amended 2023-2024 budget resolution of the general fund with revenues of $20,465,034 and expenditures of $19,438,064. Food service fund budget with revenues of $1,024,416 and expenditures of $1,200,000, $332. Debt service fund budget with revenues of $482,867 and expenditures of $521,300. Capital project service fund budget with revenues of $504,500 and expenditures of $0. And student activities fund budget with revenue of $231,620 and expenditures of $245,200.
So I'll make the motion, but we twisted 2 numbers there in the expenditures in the general fund revenues, which it was $483,064.
Okay.
And I'll support that.
Motion by Christian, support by Whittington with the number clarification. Any discussion on this? Hearing none, would we do a roll call vote, please?
Christian,
Yes.
Souter, Jeske,
Yes.
Whittington,
Yes.
Bowles,
Yes.
Halliday,
Yes.
Oster,
Yes.
Thank you. Motion carries 6-0. Brings us to action item B, approval of the General Appropriations Act resolution and approval of the general fund budget, the food services budget, debt services budget, capital projects fund budget, and the school activity fund budget for the 2024-2025 fiscal year as presented.
I'll make that motion.
Supported.
Motion by Oster, supported by Whittington. Any discussion on this one?
I appreciate the conservative thinking.
Any more comments?
It's always nice when we have more at the end than what we anticipated. And I also agree, the conservative budgeting, I appreciate very much.
All right, if there are no more comments, can we have a roll call vote, please?
Oster,
Yes.
Bowles,
Yes.
Halliday,
Yes.
Christian,
Yes.
Jeske.
Yes.
Souter, Whittington.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion carries 6-0. Looking for a motion and a support to approve the student support specialist contract for Souter in the amount of $43,704.96 out of title and address.
I'll make the motion.
Support.
Motion by Christian, supported by Bowles. Any discussion on this one? Hearing none, can we do a roll call vote, please?
Halliday,
No.
Whittington,
Yes.
Christian,
Yes.
Jeske,
Yes.
Bowles,
Yes.
Oster.
Yes.
Motion carries 5-1. Action item D, motion to approve student support network coordinator contract for Jeske for the amount of $52,445.34 out of title and at risk.
I'll make that motion.
I'll support.
Motion by Whittington, support by Christian. Any discussion on this one? Hearing none, can we do a roll call vote, please?
Christian,
Yes.
Souter, Jeske,
Abstain.
Whittington,
Yes.
Bowles,
Yes.
Halliday,
No.
Oster.
Yes.
Motion carries 4-1 with 1 abstain. Looking for a motion and a support to approve the superintendent contract for 2024-2027 in the amount of $123,794 out of the general fund.
I'll make the motion.
I'll support.
Motion by Christian, support by Whittington. Discussion.
I do have some discussion or some thoughts for the board for merit compensation, part of the superintendent contract. So I think you do have it in front of you, hopefully in front of you on your electronic agenda. But right now we have merit compensation tied to the evaluation instrument. And as we know, we're going from 4 categories to 3 with the new evaluation instrument. And I would also like to suggest that maybe we not only think about performance on the evaluation instrument, but also achievement, effective completion of the board established goals that we do each January. So for a couple of years now, we've established goals in January. We have a mid-year check-in, and then we do the evaluation in December. And our goals are tied to student success through the evaluation instrument that we use. I would also suggest that we increase that merit compensation up to $3,000 annually and tie it to both achievement of performance goals as determined by the board and a minimum of a developing rating on the evaluation instrument. So the new instrument will have effective, developing, and needing support. So not having had any training on the instrument, I don't know what an effective means on the instrument, and perhaps we can look at that again, but I wouldn't want to penalize the superintendent for the differences in interpretation in terms of performance. So in summary, what I would like to suggest is that we increase the merit pay as a lump sum, and we tie it to both our achievement of our goals as determined by the board and also the performance
Are you saying for this coming
Yes.
budget?
Right, so this would be, we would evaluate the superintendent in December. So that would be effective this year, this calendar year, not necessarily the new fiscal year.
So you're talking about adding 3,000 to this?
I would suggest eliminating the 500 and just have the 3,000. So right now it's 1,000 for highly effective and 500. So my suggestion would be to have 3,000 for attainment of goals, plus at least developing on the performance instrument, and then if there is no merit pay for needing support like the lowest rating, and also if the performance goals are not met. That's a lot to think around, yeah.
So for clarification's sake too, with the new superintendent too that we're getting trained on in July, they've essentially taken, it was highly effective, was the top,
Was the
tip
top, yeah.
And that's been removed from the scale, so we need to be trained on it. So essentially, this would have to be changed anyway, after that change happens too, because there will be no highly effective on the scale.
So could we discuss this in July after we do our training? To see what that looks like, or are we wanting to do it today?
I'm bringing it up as just as part of our
Discussion.
discussion,
Mhm.
because we're looking at the superintendent's contract right now, so, so procedurally, I don't know the answer to that question, but I wanted to introduce the idea of tying those
Right.
two things together. And then also talking about looking at the merit compensation, in terms of, superintendent's performance.
Yeah, cause my thought would be the easiest way to do it would be once we have MASC here already teaching us on the tool, to give suggestions for what they're suggesting to other districts too who have merit pay. To give us a clearer path of what that looks like.
But even so, wouldn't this year's merit pay be based on the evaluation we did in
Yes.
December? So this would be more of I would say if we're gonna do something
Yeah,
like
it would be
that
for
for
the
the
next.
next, instead of changing it for this year's budget, more changing it for the next year.
Yeah, so it wouldn't impact the 23-24, but it would impact 24-25.
It wouldn't impact 24.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, after thinking about this some, and looking at the numbers and the presentation, my thought process drifted to, if let's say we do the merit compensation for an effective rating, or anything above, developing, Ben's been rated effective every evaluation we've given him. He's, in my opinion, doing a great job for the district and everything like that. Is it essentially just gonna be putting my concern is I don't want it just to be a stamp of this is your merit compensation and that's just a guarantee every year. If it's gonna be that, maybe we should just consider upping his salary by that amount. Just a thought.
I'll support that.
I'm sorry, I'm gonna put you on the spot. We pulled merit pays for other districts previously, right?
Yes, we did.
Okay. I don't agree with increasing the pay because I agree with the 3% all around, because then if we step outside of that box, then are we stepping outside of that box for others? I do agree with merit pay. I think that it gives something to kind of put the feet to the fire. I like the idea of tying it into the board goals that we set to kind of ensure that those things that we as a board deem important that aren't necessarily in his evaluation are still, there's still a way for them. With all of that, I just don't know what that looks like necessarily.
Yeah, the aligning the merit pay with the district-wide goals or whatever, my hang-up, not so much a hang-up is, I just don't know the logistics of how it's
Right.
gonna work.
Right.
If it's gonna be bracketed, let's say if you meet 75%
amount
of the
you get,
district
yeah.
goals, then, or as deemed by the board or our evaluation process.
So the
Right.
the language on it
Yeah.
Correct.
would be the question of exactly how that would look. And perhaps we would need some advice about
Well, that's, I'm thinking
that.
for going to the training on the tool,
Yeah. Right,
Kelly's input on
right.
that, we're gonna have him here in July.
Might
Pick
as
his
well
brain a little
utilize
bit.
that time to see what answers we can find and see what other districts are doing. Cause it's not, it can't be just us that's gonna have the problem with
Correct.
the new tool changing how that
That's
looks.
fair.
I think your 3%'s low, Kelly, because we got Ben on the bargain to start with. So I would be more along adding the 3 to the 123 and 126. I mean, he's way under budget compared to everybody else. And we have several people on this list who are getting more than 3%. If you look at your percentage of growth plus a step, that's more than 3%.
Any unforeseen hiccups or roadblocks or anything like that if we approve this tonight as presented and then look to adjust it in July? I know it's your contract.
You asking me?
Yes.
No, I think listening to what you've said about your trainer is gonna be here on the 8th of July. This is the same training happening throughout the state, because of the legal change. It's the same thing going into next year for teachers as well. So this discussion is current, it's timely, and my guess is MASB will have seen other adjustments to merit pay in other districts. So we're probably one of the earlier ones, just because it's pretty quickly after July 1, but we're probably not the first. My guess is some boards may have already been trained in advance of the July 1. So I think if you want to look at considering that, or exploring some language, that makes sense, because you're going to be here with that training for 2 hours on the 8th. But if you wanted to make an adjustment other than that, or tweak that language, I don't think that's a problem. I mean, you could do it after the 8th, you could, do it whenever.
Okay.
Your contract's not expiring.
So in other words, the board has the ability to go in and tweak that. You can still approve the contract
And then open it.
tweak the language, open it and tweak the language. Would that be
You
the
just have
option
to-
we'd be looking at?
It'll look like an amendment to the superintendent contract on a future agenda.
Okay.
Okay.
That works.
So this will appear for discussion on the July 8th.
Yes.
Be the next one, so we're getting trained July 8th, right?
Yes.
Yeah, but we'll probably discuss it on the 8th during the meeting with the
Discussion
trainer.
July,
Mhm.
then you can decide if you're
Yep.
gonna bring it back in August for
So-
amendment.
Yep.
Okay.
So we're gonna table this till May.
So I think we're gonna
Approve the
vote
contract.
as
Yes.
is and then amend it
Okay.
after our discussion on the 8th. So the roadmap would be, tonight we'll vote on it, discuss it at the July 8th meeting when MASB is here, and then look for a possible amendment in August. Just so everybody's on the same page, sound right?
That
Yep.
sounds right.
Okay, let's go ahead and.
Is that okay with that? For sure.
That makes sense.
Okay.
All right, let's go ahead and vote on it as presented tonight. We got a motion by Christian and support by Whittington. We do a roll call vote.
Christian,
Yes.
Souter, Jeske,
Yes.
Whittington,
Yes.
Bowles,
Yes.
Halliday,
Yes.
Oster.
Yes.
Motion carries 6-0. Looking for a motion and support to approve the 2024-2025 non-affiliated wage scale.
I'll make the motion.
Support?
Discussion? I believe I have to abstain from this one too, correct? Right. Who is the motion, who is the support on that?
I'm the motion. And
Motion
Paula
by
is the
Christian,
support.
support by Whittington. Can we do a roll call, please?
Oster,
Yes.
Bowles,
Yes.
Halliday,
No,
Whittington,
Yes.
Jeske,
Abstain?
Souter, Christian.
Yes.
Motion carries 4 in favor, 1 against, and 1 abstain. Motion to approve the extended COVID-19 learning plan reconfirmation.
I'll make the motion.
I'll support this one. Discussion.
You ready?
Yes.
Happy to do.
Okay, here we go. So, in your board packet, this will be the second to last time you see this. We have to do one more in November, which is after the closeout of the September 30 ESSER fund usage. So if you looked at the plan, basically I took the existing plan that has been there for a while, updated it, changed the date, and it was a 22-23 plan. I, at the top, made it a 22-24 plan. So now we're encompassing the rest of 2024, not 25, because it's gonna end in 24 in the calendar year. Left the goals the same, so we still have the goal 1, all students will improve reading ELA fall to spring as measured by NWA. Goal 2, all students will improve in math fall to spring. Listed the mental health supports, we have our social workers, our nurse, so on. How we address learning loss, talked about summer school, after school, credit recovery. How we clean, disinfect, face masks are available if anyone wants them. Food service continues normal operation. There are no restrictions on gatherings. Hygiene's encouraged, of course, with soap available, hand sanitizer available. Offices are open for normal business, social distancing not required. So basically we have to go through and update the plan. So this plan has been tweaked to reflect the current reality, fortunately, of where we are. And my guess is you will see, hopefully, the very same thing in November, which will be the last time. This is part of the closeout of us receiving all of this federal money. Every district is kind of going through these same motions here. And the next thing after this one on the agenda will be one more document which talks about the original American Rescue Plan and the ESSER 3. So we're doing this now, and then we have one more of these in November.
Any questions on that?
No.
Hearing none, can we do a roll call vote, please?
Oster,
Yes.
Bowles,
Yes.
Jeske,
Yes.
Christian,
Yes.
Souter, Whittington,
Yes.
Halliday,
yes,
Motion carries 6-0. Thank you. That brings us to the last action item, H, motion to approve the LEA plan use of funds. I'll make that motion.
I'll support.
Support by Christian. Discussion.
So very similar to what I just shared. This is a one-page document, which is just really going back to the very beginning in 2021 of when we kicked off the American Rescue Plan. How will we use this money? We're going to use this on improving air quality, which through our ESSER funds we've done. If you remember, when we replaced fans and ventilators in our unit vents, we also added those bipolar ionization units, which not only help with COVID-19 virus, but help neutralize other airborne viruses. We also talked about how we would use some of these funds to implement and make a more robust summer school for all grades. We would hire some behavior coaches, and we talked about upgrading the district. We mentioned all the major projects: roofs, boilers, sidewalks, parking lots. So really, this is just a final review of where we were on this American Rescue Plan, and again, one more time in November.
All right, can we do a roll call vote, please?
Bowles,
Yes.
Jeske,
Yes.
Christian,
Yes.
Whittington,
Yes.
Halliday,
Yes,
Oster,
Yes.
Souter.
Thank you, motion carries 6-0. All right, that brings us to discussion. Anybody have anything they want to bring to the table? I want to, again, ring the bell on our next meeting, July 8th. Superintendent evaluation training. MASD is going to be here, so.
And if you're not present, you will have to take it independently, correct?
Correct.
Because it has to be
It
done.
has to be done. So if you can't make it, then something else will have to be arranged.
The good news is, it's a December eval, so if for whatever reason
Right.
somebody doesn't
Mhm.
make it, there's no like super urgency to rush it through. You could do it in August, September, October, you would just have to do it before.
is it gonna be online or?
You know,
I don't know yet.
I'm assuming they're gonna have to, because there's no way they're gonna get everybody this summer. I'm assuming they're gonna have, I think the initial push is to come out and talk about, how to compress, 4 quadrants on the indicators into 3. There's gonna be some theory behind it, that kind of stuff. They'll compress that for an online module, I'm sure.
I would also guess it'll be at the MASB Summer Academy and then probably again in the fall at the MASB ALC conference. Because they'll really push for those things.
My July schedule's not that bad. The rest of my summer schedule. You're lucky to see me.
So, go ahead, Chauncey.
Well, you wanna finish up?
I had one board member bring to the table to me, interest in seeing us do another board retreat sooner than the winter. So my thought process was if we can squeeze one in maybe as like a back to school, whatever, do a board retreat, back to school kind of thing, end of summer, early fall, something like that.
Do you have any specific topics we're looking at for that one?
I think we're possibly gonna be looking at some changes for board policies and things like that.
Okay.
And then I think we're gonna be discussing, possibly seeing, one thing that I'd like to see us do is when we see this non-affiliated wage scale and that kind of thing, see a couple for a discussion item, a previous meeting. And then we can look at it, review it, digest it, and then, so at least a month in advance, so we can digest it a little bit. Do that. That was one concern that was brought to me as far as not.
Right now, we have no comparison. We get nothing, we get it Thursday, and it's hard to compare to other districts, it's hard to figure out where we're at, because I believe our wage scale is low. That's why my notes today, no offense, Chad, but.
But if anyone has any other topics or anything like that they want to discuss or see discussed, that'd be the time for it. If we can make it work, we'll see what we can do as far as attendance goes. If a bunch of people can't make it, we'll push back.
I think there's other topics, that are floating around in everybody's head that, can better suit us, and I think it's a great time to, get us back together, game rolling, and
Start looking at dates. Kim and I will, of course, collaborate with you all on what works best. Is it evening? Is it a Saturday morning? You tell us.
Saturdays are best for me.
It's football season.
I was gonna say, I don't know about Saturdays.
Oh, well,
My kid
If it's
plays
before-
Saturday football.
If it's before Saturday, yeah,
Are they switching to
or
Wednesdays?
before football starts.
Just middle school.
Seventh, eighth grade.
Oh,
well, we've got time. We can start discussing it.
You think in August?
If it's August, that'll be before games start.
That would be,
Then you'd be having them back to back,
Sure. What do you mean back to back?
because we have them in July.
we just have the MASB at 2 meetings in a row, or one meeting and another meeting, 2 months in a row, basically. My thought was either August or September.
Either
Throw
way.
in a few different dates, like
Yeah.
a Saturday or
Yeah.
a weeknight and whatever,
Yeah.
and just see what
That's
we can all,
Avoiding football schedules.
My other thing is I sent out the group text today. as far as meetings go, I'm gonna start putting them on our Google Calendar, so everybody's email, and if you could just RSVP if you're going or not on those, even if it's the day of, just so we know who's gonna be here and who's not. It'd be great, there's gonna be reminders set up and everything like that for everybody, so.
I'm gonna need a text. Email doesn't work. Me and the email is. Please, thank you. I'm not that tech savvy yet.
Any other discussion items anybody wants to bring forward tonight?
Brian, I wanted to announce that for the July 8th meeting, the holiday, July 4th is Thursday. So we're gonna push out the agenda to you on Tuesday and to the group Wednesday. So I'll be looking for a little bit earlier
Okay.
than usual.
Anything, Kim?
I'm gonna blame you, Kim, if I think it's Thursday when I get it on Tuesday.
All right, anything else this evening?
That's it.
Hearing none, we are adjourned at 7:29. Good work, everybody.
Thank you, everybody.